some of the techniques
Yeah.
that are out there in doing improv speeches, impromptu speaking, and I guess you'll explain a little bit more yourself. So give it up for Paul.
Get that out of the way. All right, folks. First of all, how many of you know who I am? As a matter of fact, how many of you know my story? Please put your hands up.
Your story?
Yeah, my story. How many of you know my story? No? I was more famous than that. Okay. Okay, to give you a bit of a context as to why I'm delivering this particular workshop, because today's workshop will be about the power of storytelling. Now, the reason why I chose this particular topic is because I truly believe that storytelling is everything. I am a result of a story, all of you too. But the reason why I chose storytelling is because for me, my story started back in, well, let's not mention the year, but back in high school, let's say, okay? That's when, firstly, somebody told me a story about a professional basketball player. But at that time, that person wasn't a professional basketball player. At that time, that person was just a little boy who came from the same school as I did, and then he went on to becoming a professional basketball player, the national star from my city. I got inspired by that story. And I said to myself, if that same person comes from that same school, I can go out there and try and become a professional basketball player too. And at the age of 12, I started playing basketball. By the age of 18, I made my first semi-professional debut. That was the beginning of my story. Now, moving on to my next story. My next story came from my dad. So my dad once told me how he was able to save a patient's life by conducting a very, very difficult and important surgery that eventually ended up saving that patient's life. And of course, I got inspired by that story and I decided to fulfill the African prophecy of becoming a medical personnel. Those of you who are African in the building, you know you're either an engineer, you're either a lawyer, or you're either a doctor. So I went to a pharmacy school and I got my pharmacy degree. Now, next up for me was meeting, well, now my dear friend and a business partner, but at that time, I just came across an individual who inspired me and motivated me to do more beyond my pharmacy. And from then on, I went on this crazy journey of personal development and the journey of joining Toastmasters and embarking on that, let's call it adventure of becoming the best version of myself. That's my story. Now, I want to make sure that we all know how to tell our stories. Because I truly believe that we all have a very powerful tool in our arsenal, which is our story. And I'm going to look at the storytelling through the lenses of impromptu speaking. So we just had a section where you all had a chance to get on stage and show yourself, right? Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to structure the workshop in a way where I'm going to give you some opportunities to get on stage as well and get involved. But I'm going to run you through some theory to help you understand and help you perform better. Is that all good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like with any storytelling, first up, we want to make sure we nail the introduction. So, from my experience in Toastmasters, one thing I learned is that when it comes to introduction, there are two things that you need to remember. The first thing is that you want to paint a picture for your audience. You want to evoke an emotional response. And let me tell you why it's important. Has anyone been to, let's say, to a big gig? I think you said you've been to O2 Arena, correct?
No, it was 2004.
Okay. But anyway, so if you go to any big concert, they always have a warm-up line before the main person comes on stage, right? So introduction essentially does the same job. So when you introduce your topic, your job is to first create that emotional stir within the audience. And then the second point you want to do is to inject your personal experience into that story. So to put it simple for you, so the first step is you stir the audience, and the second step, you inject your personal experience into that story. And the example might sound something like this. Let's say I get a question around overcoming your challenges. And I might, well, in Toastmasters format, I might answer something like this. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain, and I'm going to use my hands, and I'm going to say, imagine standing at the base of a mountain, Farah, and looking at the top of that mountain. Life often feels like a mountain, impossible to climb. But let me tell you a time for the Toastmasters when I XYZ. You know what I mean here? Wonderful. So I don't want to spend too much time on introduction because I want to spend more time on the main part where actually I'm going to involve a few folks in here. I will need 4 volunteers for the main part. By the way, just to give you some heads up here, if I pick you and you look away, I just want to see you. So let's not make it awkward for each other. So have we got any volunteers? I need 4 volunteers because I'm going to go through 4 different techniques. Okay, so we've got Patrick. Who else we've got? We've got Farah, and we need 2 more. So I'll take you as a guest, and so we have 2 guests. And let's do 2 guests and 2 members. Patrick, 1 member, and I need somebody else from our club as well.